And so he puts the gun in my face. He says, "I'm gonna shoot you." Hi, Lotus family. I'm currently cleaning my face, so bear with me. So if you read the title of the video, I'm going to be talking about life's purpose and how I believe each one of us have a purpose, and I believe that fate and destiny can change. I believe in quantum immortality. If you don't know what that is, Google it. But by the title of the video, you already know I'm going to talk about my 3 times that I almost died. One time I actually did, and they brought me back. So the first time I was a teenager, it might have been 4 times actually. We'll get to that in a minute. The first time I was a teenager, I was like starting high school, and when you start high school, you have to have what's called a tuberculosis vaccination, or like a skin test where they test you for tuberculosis. And when I had mine, it came back, the skin test came back positive, but they did a chest x-ray and they didn't see anything. So after they did the chest x-ray and they didn't see anything, the doctor came to the conclusion, without redoing the skin test, without doing anything else, that I had the tuberculosis virus dormant in my system, and that one day, it could be any day, I would get sick and it would trigger it and there'd be all kinds of problems. So he put me on medication. I was supposed to take this medication for a year to get rid of this dormant tuberculosis. Well, I was on the medication for about 2 months, if that, and probably not even that, but I was at school one day, and I had been feeling funny for like that past week and through the weekend, but I was at school one day, and I was a teacher's aide in one of the classes. So I was like, you know how they have the older students come into the younger students class and help the teacher? Well, I was like a teacher helper, and I was helping like grade papers and organize stuff, and I was standing at this counter, and I felt really, really faint, sick, something went right. So I went over to the teacher and I said, "I don't feel well." And she said, "You look very pale. You need to go down to the office." So I went outside the room, the classroom, head to the stairwell. Before I even got to the stairwell, my eyesight started going out. I was fainting. And I ended up falling halfway down the stairs, and then one of the assistant principals found me. They took me downstairs, laid me down on the bench, called my grandfather. My grandfather come and got me. This was a private school. By the way, that doesn't really matter, but their procedures were different. They basically called him and let him decide whether to call the ambulance or whatever. And so he took me home, put me in the bed, and all that night I had a high fever, extremely sick, was throwing up, was dehydrated. My fever spiked to 105, and that's when they took me to the hospital. I was hospitalized for almost 13 days before they figured out what was going on. They thought that they tested me for everything. I had like a pincushion. I had just been stuck in blood tests, x-rays, scans. If it can be done in the medical facility, they did it to me, trying to figure out what was wrong, and nothing was coming back. But I was slowly dying because like my cell counts were just so low that I should have been dead. Like I was gonna die if they didn't figure this out. So my aunt, who was in nursing school at the time, and mind you now, this is even after they called a blood specialist in from California all the way down to Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, to try and figure this out. My aunt, who's a nursing student, mentioned to the doctors 2 or 3 times, "What if it's the medication? What if it's the medication?" Well, it turned out to be the medication. Lo and behold, make a long story less long, it was the medication. Let me move this down some, so it turned out to be the medication. So they immediately stopped the medication, and I started getting better, ended up going home, and life went on. But I would have died had they not listened to her. And they finally listened to her because they were like, "Well, we don't have many options left. Let's go ahead and see. You know, we stop the medication. If she gets better, she gets better." And I got better. So they did another skin test on me, and this one come out negative. I really think my grandparents should have sued that doctor, because instead of doing a second skin test to make sure He just assumed I had the tuberculosis virus dormant in my system, which I never did. I just have sensitive skin, and then it just got irritated. So if you ever have one of those skin tests done, make them do a second one if something comes back abnormal. The second time I almost died was when I was 23. It was in 2003 when I had my son, my youngest son, who's 18 now. So I started having pains in my stomach. I was working full time up until the time I had him, but I started having pains in my stomach, and I just figured it was part of pregnancy. You know, maybe I pulled a muscle, maybe I have to work too hard, strain something, whatever. So I got some time off from work, and I tried to take it easy, and the pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I went to the hospital, went to the ER. They said it's probably just gas. It's pregnancy-related gas, and sent me home with some pain medicine. And I was like, this is not gas, but whatever. So it got so bad I couldn't even stand up. I was walking like this. So I had my child's father's mother take me to the doctor's office. And by the time I got in the door, I was on the floor crawling, and I said, please help me. There's something not right. So the doctor himself took me back, did an ultrasound, and found out that my placenta was ruptured. It was rupturing. So I had to be rushed to the hospital, undergo emergency cesarean. At this point, I had lost so much blood internally that my oxygen kept dropping. My pulse was dropping. My breathing, they had to put a tube down my throat. They didn't have much time to spend on the anesthesia, so when they did the spinal, it took the anesthesiologist was trying to hurry because it was serious, and it took him like 6 times to get the catheter in my spine the right way. Mind you now, the entire time my legs are shaking because he's hitting nerves in places he shouldn't have been. So that was a horrible experience, not to mention the pain I was already in. And then I got sick, I threw up, but I couldn't feel myself throw up because when they did the anesthesia, the spinal block, epidural, whatever, instead of going down, from here down like it's supposed to, it went down and up. My arms were numb, my throat was numb, I was losing feeling in my face. It was horrifying. I couldn't feel myself throw up, so I almost choked to death on my throw up. So they had to stick this tube down my throat. I stopped breathing, flatlined twice, I think. I know at least once, it might have been twice. In the middle of having a C-section. So when my baby came out, when my baby boy was born, he wasn't crying and he was blue. So they were worried that it was too late, because they did tell his dad, hey, our last patient that went through this, typically when your placenta ruptures, when a woman's placenta ruptures, it doesn't end too well. So he was prepared for the worst, and it almost was, but they finally got my baby to cry, and as soon as he cried, my stats shot up. And I like to say that he saved my life. You know, he used to tell people I almost killed my mom, but I tell people no, he saved me, because when I heard my baby cry, I immediately, oxygen went up, pulse went up, everything went up, blood pressure, I got the color back in my face, even though I had lost so much blood. So there was that. Ended up going home, going about my life with a newborn. I had 2 toddlers already. Yes, I was a young mom. Yes, I was a teen mom before it was cool. And that's a whole nother video. So I ended up going home, going back to my regular life. 4 weeks after I got home from the hospital, I went back to work. And I started about, I guess it was 6 weeks from the time I had my child. I was at work one day, and I lifted up to stock something on the shelf, and I felt this sharp pain shoot down my chest and into my back. I mean, it just took my breath away, and I was like, what the hell? Did I just pull something? Because I was hurting that whole day after that. The next day, it was even worse, and I was taking over-the-counter Tylenol arthritis medicine, ibuprofen, anything I could find that would help ease the pain I was taking. And it was helping, but the pain was coming right back, and it was getting more intense. And it was getting so bad that I couldn't even inhale without it hurting. I was just like it hurt to breathe. It hurt to lay down If I tried to lay down, it was excruciating. So I had to sit up like this. And I had to... It was the worst pain I've ever felt, including childbirth. So I went to the ER once again, was told, oh, you pulled a muscle. It hurts real bad when you pull muscles in that area. We're going to give you a muscle relaxer and some pain meds. Go home and rest. Stay out of work for a few days. So I, once again, did what this ER said do. And it just got worse. And it got so bad that I was afraid that if I did it, something was seriously wrong. I knew something was seriously wrong. I knew it wasn't a pulled muscle because pulled muscles typically get better. This was getting worse. And I couldn't breathe. So I called an ambulance. The ambulance came and got me. They checked my oxygen. They said, your oxygen is very low, but you appear to be hyperventilating, so we're not sure what's going on here. Because you appear to be breathing heavily, but your oxygen is very low. It's way too low. So they put an IV in my arm, took me to the hospital. The doctor there, it was a different doctor. He did a scan, found out I had 2 embolisms in my fucking left lung. Sorry. In my left lung. What? Pulled muscle, my ass. Yeah, I had blood clots in my left lung from, I guess they said it was from having the emergency cesarean. I developed pulmonary embolisms, which is life-threatening. If you look that up, not a lot of people survive that. So here I am, almost 24. It was like in January. I would be 24 that April. So I'm 23 years old. My oldest son turned 5 years old while I was in the hospital. So it was the end of January that I got hospitalized. And I had my baby November 5th. So if that tells you how far out it was from the time I had my baby to the time I knew I had embolism. So yeah, I'm laid up in a hospital bed with IV heparin. And they're coming in giving me shots in my stomach. They've got me on IV heparin. They're giving me all kinds of pain medicine to try and ease the pain. And I remember crying thinking, why is this happening to me? You know, like, I got a baby at home. Like, what if I don't make it? And I asked the nurse that was in there that night, that very first night, I said, am I going to be okay? And she said, I don't know. She said, I don't know. I've never had a nurse say that. Like, are you seriously, like, you can't lie or something? Like, I'm scared. I'm young and I'm scared, and I had none of my family showed up. But that's to be expected because they all live scattered out across the United States. And I didn't really even make phone calls and let anybody know what was going on. And this was before Facebook and stuff like that. Like, so, you know, it just took me a few days to make phone calls. But the ones that I did call and notify were very upset that I didn't tell them sooner. But I ended up going home and I made it through it. That's something a lot of people don't pull out of. I had to take shots of Lovinex and Coumadin treatments for like 6 months. And finally, my blood thinned out and life was back to normal. So, I'm telling you guys, there's a reason I'm here. I don't know what that reason is, but there's a reason I'm still in this particular life, okay? This is what I'm trying to tell you. There is something called quantum immortality, and I want y'all to Google it. If you already know what it is, put down in the comments, you know, what you think about it. So, the third time I was in a domestic violence situation. I survived a 2-year domestic violence ordeal. I'm not going to get into too much detail about that in this particular video, but I will tell you that during one of his violent outbursts, he put a gun to my face. He was about 4 feet away from me, and he pointed it straight at me. And he had been drinking, and he was acting crazy, and I'm like begging him to stop and crying and trying to get him to calm down, and he wouldn't calm down. This was recently. This was like 3 years ago. Not even, yeah, well, this October 19th will make 3 years since I left him. So about 3.5, 4 years ago is when this happened. So he's losing his mind, right? And he'd been drinking and God knows what else. And so he puts the gun in my face. He says, I'm going to shoot you. And then I'm going to shoot myself. And I just immediately thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I was begging him. I was like, please don't. I'm not going to say his name. And then he makes the comment, I'll go first. Like, he's going to go first, shoot himself, then shoot me. And all I remember thinking, it was the craziest thing. Because I was like, how are you going to... I said, how... Never mind. Because I didn't want to upset. Please, I was doing everything I could to get him to calm down. And he pulled the trigger. And the bullet flew past me, hit the wall. I took off. And I hid for the rest of that night. I'll do a separate video on that whole ordeal. But I survived that. So yeah, I'm living, I'm well. I have ailments like everybody else, but for the most part, I'm very lucky to be on this planet. And I know that I'm going to serve my purpose here. And whatever that purpose is fine with me, but I know I have a purpose. And so do you. Whether you believe it or not, you do. There's a reason you're here. And you've got to really tap into your intuition and find what it is that makes you the happiest. And do something that makes you happy. I like to say to people, if you do something that makes you happy, you'll never work a day in your life. So, I'm going to go over the universal laws. My next few videos are going to be about the universal laws. So make sure to catch me on the next videos. I might be more presentable. I'm very sorry. I don't have any of this fancy equipment that a lot of YouTubers have. But sorry, my storage is full, it said. So it just rudely cut me off. I had to go and delete some files, and I got to clean out my storage after this video. But basically, I just have been wanting to start this channel. Hopefully it'll grow. We'll see. If you're part of the Lotus family, great. If you're a new subscriber here, comment below, because I'm about to have a giveaway. I'm going to be doing readings for random new subscribers. I'm going to be looking at the comments. I'm going to be seeing who's commenting and who's actively liking my videos that I'm putting out over the next little while. And in about a week, I'll announce the winners. But yeah, I do readings. I do pendulum readings, tarot readings, oracle. I do spiritual medium sessions. I take that very seriously. That's something that we have to do via Zoom call, or there's a lot involved with that. So I'm going to put my Linktree link in the description box. Please go there and follow me on my social media accounts. I have a contact email there. I have a few other links with some cool information if you're looking to open your third eye and start your metaphysical journey. If you want to learn about the different goddesses and gods, the deities, I'm going to be talking about that. I'm going to be doing a series of explaining who each goddess is. Divine feminine goddess, each one, and it will be from different pantheons, so it doesn't matter if you're Neo, Norse, whatever. I'm going to be going through all of them, and then I'm going to be doing some random tarot readings for the collective on here, some astrology. I can do astrology charts, so if you want an astrology chart made for your birthday, your birth chart, I can do that, and I can tell you all your signs. I can tell you whether you're compatible with your current partner, you know, the whole 9 yards. So I hope you stay along with me on this journey. Like I said, if it might build, it might not, but I'm still going to do it. So, because I've always said it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. And if I could just help one person on this channel, that would be great. So, please subscribe. Please like this video. I know it's not fancy and it don't have all these cool things on it like the other people, but I'm just getting started. And this, believe it or not, is a big thing for me. I appreciate your support, and I look forward to going over the laws of the universe. We're going to be doing law of attraction, law of compensation, and law of vibration, I believe, in my next video, so make sure you check it out. Blessed be, you guys.